Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, the Planning Power Play, How to Use Event Types to Drive ROI. Before I bring in today's speakers, I just wanted to cover a few quick housekeeping details. We are coming to you today, after you're seeing this version of the presentation, pre-recorded. Something might have happened, had a speaker get sick, not sure what, but glad we are able to bring you our content still. Even though we are using our pre-recorded, I still want to make sure you know how to use the engagement panel, as we do have team members who are here live to engage with you. So on the right-hand side of your screen in the Cvent Attendee Hub, you should see a number of icons, including chat, Q&A, polling, and survey. I want to make sure you know how to access all of those today. Please do join us in the chat with your fellow attendees. Let us know how the conversation is going. But if you have a question, make sure to use that Q&A tab to input that question in the Q&A. We'll be checking that and make sure to save time here at the end of the presentation for our Q&A. And before you leave today, of course, do not forget to hit that survey button. That feedback is how we bring you this content and make sure that we are delivering to your expectations. So please do make sure to take that survey and let us know what you thought of today's presentation. As you can see on the bottom of your screen, my name is Julie Haddix, and I'm the Senior Director of Solutions Marketing here at Cvent, and will be serving as the moderator of today's conversation. But I will be handing the majority of the content over to some of our experts. And first expert that I want to bring in is Denise Marlowe. Denise sits on our client success team here at Cvent. Denise, would you like to introduce yourself and then take it away?
Hi, thanks so much, Julie. Hi, everyone. As Julie mentioned, I'm Denise Marlowe. I'm a Senior Client Success Manager here at Cvent. Been with Cvent for approximately 5.5 years. And prior to that, I've spent a lot of time out in the third-party world. To all of you I may have already met, hello, and it's nice to see you again in a forum. So I'm really excited to talk about today's content. It's something that we've been kicking around internally here at Cvent. And what you see on your screen right now is not going to come to a surprise to those of you who are new to the industry or some of you veterans. We have all seen these headlines. And these are just some of the highlights from the last few years. So they're coming from PCMA, Events Force, Convene Magazine. Cvent ran our own survey, Forbes, LinkedIn, U.S. U.S. News and World Reports. They have all published over the course of time similar headlines. They are not new headlines to us, but they are shouting that our events in the planning industry are extremely stressful. They'll range anywhere from the top 10 as time goes by. And as it goes further back, the only thing that changes is where we are falling on this list. So the root cause of this stress and exhaustion, well, planners have been and probably always will be skilled at dealing with new expectations, new event format, environmental changes, multitasking, stakeholder opinions, stakeholder demands, tight timelines, ever-changing priorities, being cost-effective, long hours, behind the scenes, and it often feels like a really thankless job. These changes are not new, not by any means. So they're probably sounding super familiar to all of you here in the room today. And just to add a little fun, over the last 3 years, brand new demands to the planners. Tech stacks have grown tremendously. There's huge turnover in our industry since 2020. We are all being asked to do more with less. But let's also report on our carbon deficit efforts and how we can make our carbon footprint neutral by 2035. When's this going to get easier for us? So some of the fundamental causes and the demands that we're seeing is this never-ending cycle, making it difficult to do anything but execute. We have less time. We have fewer resources, whether they be human or technological, and money. and it goes on and on. But believe me, in my role, we talk to a lot of planners and our clients in every industry, every vertical, and we're hearing the same sentiment. They're being asked to show the value. Yeah, we know you're busy, but what's the return on our investment? Prove it. More money, get more resources, like you want more, but show me how does that value our organization? Impact, like do more events. So the time to simplify, standardize, and automate, that's what we need to do with our time. For resources, we need usability, we need the support. Money, tracking the budgets, tracking cost savings, cost avoidance, deliver. How are you going to get to that ROI? Will you ever? So we thought, let's start solving for what's causing the planner exhaustion and how are you thoughtfully executing your events. Please welcome my Cvent colleague, Allison. She's a senior manager, event technology and operations, and she's going to share the story of Cvent's journey toward event ROI.
Thank you so much, Denise. You are so right. I am no stranger to working with less time, less money, less resources. I have been on Cvent's meetings and events team for over 10 years now, navigating these challenges while actually executing our events to more recently managing our total event program operations. So how we're doing events more efficiently, and we're leveraging event technology to do that. I'm so excited to share with you all our journey because it's not all bad news. I promise you there's hope. And our journey starts with not just reducing planner exhaustion through maximizing the use of our time, our resources, our money, but really how we're becoming more active contributors to event ROI. Now, this journey, by no means did it happen overnight. No. It actually, as a matter of fact, is still going on, and we're still working towards delivering event ROI. So whether you are starting from scratch or you've already been able to do this, you are in the right place, and I'm excited to share with you our experience. So with that, let's go ahead and get right to the basics. Event ROI, that is where we're going. That's what we're going to end up getting to, hopefully. And with event ROI, we're not just looking at the outputs, so number of leads, MQLs, revenue, objectives, but we're also looking at the inputs, what goes into an event, the time, the resources, the money. You really have to have both and know about both in order to calculate, improve ROI. And for Cvent, we're not just applying this to the event execution level, but we are looking at this programmatically at our entire event portfolio and how this applies. Now, over the last few years, like most, our event program has evolved, and we've really taken the time to revisit. And with that, we've identified this foundational layer that really sits underneath our event program that all of our events are built on top of. And from event objectives, the types, the tiers, the teams, the tech, we're going to walk through these a little more in detail. I do think it's really important to understand the relationship of these, what they are, the interconnectivity that these share, and the unique impact and value that they bring when we're talking about event ROI. Now, one key component that is not on this slide, but that plays a big role in event execution and how your event program is set up, are our stakeholders. They have a lot of influence into not just how we run events, but what events that we run.
Hi, I saw that you were online. I figured I'd just Zoom bomb you. I know we're supposed to go through this whole like meeting request form thing, but I figure I just, catch you, saw you're available and have a quick little convo with you. So I have an event that's coming up, and I thought, who first to call is the one who's the expert in planning and executing events, you. And I need your help. We've got an event that's coming up, and I've got not all the information, probably 40% of it, but great news, we have 3 full weeks to figure it out. So plenty of time to execute. A few quick things you need to know. This event is very important to me. It is the number one priority for my region, for my team. So because it's my number one priority, I hope and expect that you treat it as your number one priority as well and treat it as such. And without a doubt, this is a tier 1 event. No brainer, in my opinion. This event, not just important, it is special. It's special. I mean, I need the ability to customize the branding, the graphics, the messaging, the agenda. I need the flexibility to adapt to market industry trends quickly and easily. Nothing standard about it. It's special. Did you just chat asking if I had event goals? Of course I have event goals. We're going to generate awareness, drive revenue, build community, increase advocacy, and most importantly, deliver the most marketing qualified leads. Now, with that said, I think that's it. I'll check back in with you tomorrow. We'll talk about what we just talked about today. I'll give you new requirements for then you to re-execute. And I think that might be it. Thanks for the quick combo. I will talk to you tomorrow. Don't work too hard.
All right, so that might have been slightly exaggerated. And for some of you out there, you might be like, no, that is not my stakeholders, though you are the lucky ones. And like most of us, unfortunately, that conversation is all too familiar. And being on CVent's meetings and events team, that conversation happens more than I'd like to admit. But this is how stakeholders think, and that's never going to change. But this is also where we flip the script as event professionals, marketers, planners. This process must change if we want to get to event ROI, where we no longer start with the who or the what, we start with the why. And what do I mean, start with the why? Well, we are asking ourselves, why are we doing the event and how are we going to measure its success? We are identifying clear objectives. We are aligning it with relevant performance metrics. We're not treating it as a one-size-fits-all approach. No, because with every objective, we are trying to accomplish something different, right? So choosing metrics that are specific and reflective to where we're at in the prospect customer, the candidate employee journeys, respectively. This here is a critical starting point for every single event. Internal, external, hosted, attended. This is how we are going to measure the effectiveness of the event and the impact that it has. This also acts as a North Star for selecting the right event type and designing the most impactful event experience. Which brings us to event types. These are the unique categories of events based on similar attributes or characteristics. I like to think of event types as the vehicle you use to deliver on an objective. Some event types more suitable than others depending on where you're at in the journey or the funnel. For example, if we're doing an awareness event, it might make the most sense to attend an industry event and participate in the trade show and exhibit because of maybe the investment is lower to you, or the audience and reach that you're able to achieve by doing that might make the most impact. Versus if we're trying to do an onboarding and adoption event, that attended event doesn't make the most sense for trying to achieve that objective, does it? But rather hosting your own event and maybe making it a training workshop. That is more impactful to meeting the objective. So if the event type is this empty shell, this vehicle, we start to fill it up when we start talking about our tiers. And for CVent, our tiers were historically built and based on stakeholder opinion, where every event was the most important event and top priority. Well, now we're taking a calculated approach. We are using those objectives and success metrics. We're then balancing it with the general programming complexity and level of effort it takes to execute one of these event types. That giving us a 360-degree view and a calculated tier rating. Now, what's not shown up here is the actual calculator that we use that takes all of the different components and generates up a tier. but you get the picture. And really, these tiers are going to help us prioritize, where we are prioritizing the high impact, low effort events, low hanging fruit there, and we're deprioritizing, questioning, challenging, maybe straight up denying those low impact, high effort events. This giving us an effective use of our time. Then we have event teams and delivery. This is all about the who and the how. Who are the different teams that are executing events, from your centralized meetings and events team to a regional field marketer? We're identifying the roles and responsibilities on those teams when it comes to event execution. We're outlining the competencies, the skill sets that are needed to be successful. We're then layering in the how. How are these teams executing? From full service to self-service, or maybe something in between. We are outlining that operating model, the process that these teams will take in order to achieve event execution, setting them up with training plans and enablement resources to make sure these teams are set up for success. And then lastly, we have event technology. This is really woven throughout all of these, where we're capturing the requirements, objectives, we're standardizing process based on these event types, prioritizing our time, mobilizing teams, assigning resources, all within one place, one platform, and most importantly, one source of truth when it comes to our event data. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, so for the focus of this conversation and this webinar, we're going to look at event objectives, success metrics, and the event types. And what better way to walk you through our experience than with a quick before and after look at where we started and where we are going. Starting with event objectives and KPIs. The first question we asked our stakeholders when we met were, what are the different reasons we do events and how are we measuring success today? And we got a resounding demand generation, and we're going to use number of marketing qualified leads. So while partially that's true, an objective that we do is for generating demand, and a metric that you can use is marketing qualified leads. Very important metric, very important objective. However, it's not the only one. It's not the only indicator for success. If we use this logic and we blanket apply it across all of our events, then what does this mean when we're looking at a customer event? Do less MQLs equal a less successful event? No, it just means that we have a different objective and we need to use different metrics. So what did we do? Well, we built out this framework, and first things first, it took a lot of alignment and collaboration with our stakeholders. We wanted to work together. We're both trying to achieve the same goal. So we as a marketing team met and identified these 4 objectives. These might look different for your organization. You might have additional ones, and that's totally fine. These are the ones that we came up with. We took those objectives. We then built out, here are the different goals that we have to reach those objectives. Then the next step was, here are the different metrics to prove success and to measure success of these goals. Now, this is just a quick snapshot. We actually built out a full workbook that not only has more goals, metrics, but also goes 2 layers deeper, where we are identifying what data source are we using and pulling from to get to these metrics. What field within the data source are we using? And not just looking at what's currently, what we're tracking and what's available to us today, but what can we track? What would we like? What is our wish list for us to look forward to work towards as a marketing organization to really round out that story and the performance reporting that we could get? So I think we're doing pretty good when it comes to event objectives and KPIs. We are well on our way to getting those implemented. Now let's switch gears and go to event types. The question that really started this conversation was, what event type is performing best/worst? We started pulling reports, and my oh my, we came across a lot of different naming conventions, types of events, names of events, some being campaign names, some being acronyms, and my least favorite, special event. Don't know when that came about, but it did, and no one could tell me what it was. It just really acted as a junk drawer of sorts, that if an event didn't fall within one of these buckets, that it got thrown into this special event one. So no consistency when it came to language or nomenclature here. Then we're looking at mapping these across the different systems, and there was no hierarchy. It ended up being a tangled web. And when it came to automation, this made it really difficult. We had a lot of need for manual intervention, a lot of room for manual error. Data accuracy went down the drain. It's not easy to pull, and it takes longer. So when going back to that question of what event types are performing better or worse, well, we don't have event types, and we didn't have any structure to the data to even pull it. So what did we do? Well, simply put, we built a taxonomy for our events, really putting a structure, a hierarchy in place for the data. You guys probably remember back in science class, this taxonomy exists when classifying animals of kingdom, class, order, you name it, where you start from general and you get specific. For us, it was here's all events, internal, external, hosted, attended, and then these different event types. These event types, how we get to those is we use different attributes that then take an event, we apply the attributes, and that then categorizes it into one of these 9 event types. So we're in a good place with event types too. And we are actually going to go kind of a little more in detail. I'm going to pass it back to Denise to really walk us through these different attributes, our structure, and apply some of this to the different event types that we have going on.
Thanks so much, Allie. Well, gang, I'm just going to say we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive. Allison did a great job teeing up the background work of what happened here at Cvent and telling our story and building out that taxonomy. So I guess some of you are probably sitting there going, where do I start within my own organization? So if you recall, Allison talked about a few naming conventions. We really recommend that you find a consistent language. There's a structure here that works for us. And again, just looking at Cvent as the case study, you don't need to have the same event type nomenclature. You're going to look at some of these and think of different names or say, we don't do those events. And that's okay. It's going to be unique to your culture and your organization. But as you're starting to build that out, take a look at what your team is already tracking, what you're already planning. And that's where we started. So the external versus the internal events. Which ones are you hosting? Which ones are you attending? And I think every organization can start there. I think that's a really great place to begin. And then start thinking bigger picture, not just what you currently do, but what's possible down the road. So your program can grow and grow with the changes within your organization and meet the needs of your objectives. Categorize your events into types. So there's 3 main criteria and keywords, and this is what we're going to take a look at next. So we really recommend taking a look at, and if you look really in the center of this chart, presentation, conversation, and then the activation. That's where that sensory piece comes in. So a categorization matrix is going to help your stakeholders understand where does that event that they're calling you about or trying to register as good corporate citizens on your meeting request form, where does it fall? How should I identify this? What do I tell my meeting team? So this is Cvent's layout. You can use it, you can build on it, you can use it as your own or adopt something totally new. Share this with your shared services, communicate it, socialize it, make it be part of the conversation you're having. But these 3 elements are really important in identifying those basic presentation. This is that delivery of content to your audience. It's going to be a panel, is it screen shares, fireside chat? What does that look like? And then the conversation. Do you want people to talk to each other? Or do you want town hall where they're talking out to people? And then the activation, that's that sensory piece I mentioned. So something to touch or feel, experience something unique. If you have some products out there that you want people to put their fingers on, capture their attention, deliver the content that isn't presentation or conversation. Let them feel something and take that home, and building networks. So we're going to take a quick peek at 3 different types of events that we have here at Cvent. The first one we're going to look at is conference. So again, I mentioned earlier, you might not know it as a conference, but this is one really big event that might have a lot of different ad hoc multiple events within it. So lots of different touch points. You might know it as a congress or a symposium. And earlier, Allie talked about that funnel. And again, this is Cvent's case study, keep in mind. Yours is going to, and it should look different. What are your objectives in your organization? This could also change year over year. So for us, it's awareness and creating that demand gen, driving revenue, onboarding, and our users adopting our tools and our products, and then the retention and expansion. We want to dig deeper. We want to be really close with our customers. Those are our big objectives. We use our conferences to reach out to folks and build upon those objectives to meet those objectives. As a meeting planner, you want a seat at the table. You want to lean into the conversation and help build the KPIs that are going to determine whether or not those objectives are being met. You're the ones, after all, using the technology to identify the trends of what does it look like for registration? Are people going into our exhibit halls? Are they using lead capture? How many leads are they getting? Did you sell those sponsorships? So those are the reports you're going to want to be able to provide. But if it's not measurable, can't necessarily be a KPI. We're going to take a look at next a networking event. And again, this could be one of those events that exists in a bigger conference, right? But we might not be doing onboarding and adoption as an objective at this event. This is really about awareness of a product and creating interest and driving the demand. A networking event is going to be a smaller audience, but it's just as important. So it could be an internal event. You want that to be a motivator for your employees. So this is about creating those relationships, networking, connecting with other people. Remember that column that I talked about earlier about activation? This is that feeling special. And I know Allison doesn't like the word special, but we're not calling this a special event. We really do have goals and KPIs aligned to this. And the last one that we'll take a quick peek at is our training or our workshops. And again, you might know this as a different name. This to you might be an education. This could be continuing education credits. Could be a boot camp. But this is about people learning something new. And again, this could be an internal event. This could be an external event. Do you want your customers to put their fingers on the keyboards and learn your product? Do you want them to learn how to use some new surgical tool? What are you doing? Your internal folks, you want to educate them on the new products that your product team's been working on and rolling out to your customers pretty soon. So this is different audiences and different KPIs. But again, lean into those conversations and be part of that. Make sure the technology that you are engaging with as you go through the life cycle of your meeting can provide you the support you need and provide the conversation pieces and the proof that there is a return on the investment to this event. Thanks for spending time with us. Turning back to Allison for a quick recap.
Back to me. Thank you, Denise. All right. So in summary, we're looking at these concepts. These are not groundbreaking. However, these are foundational to your event program. Event objectives. These are the clear business reasons, the purpose that we exist as marketers, event planners, professionals. This is why we are doing the event, and these are how we're going to measure the success of it. Event types, the consistent language hierarchy of your events. This is not just going to provide accurate performance reporting, but it's also going to help us standardize processes, lowering that level of effort. And then impact, what you get from getting both of those objectives and types. This is going to make sure that we're doing the right event type based on the respective objective. We're using the right metrics to result in the highest return on investment. Now, thank you again for taking the time. I know all of us have no time to give, but I hope that you were able to take Denise and I's experiences and apply this, or start to think about how you can apply this to your event program, or at a bare minimum, just hearing perspective of what we are doing here at Cvent and how this could potentially down the road help you in your event programs. I will pass it over to Julie to take us home.
Thank you so much, Allie and Denise. That insight is so incredibly helpful. And as you said, Allie, we know so many of you do not have an extra 10 minutes in your day. So the fact that you have taken the time to be with us really does mean a lot. Before we close and turn over to Q&A, just wanted to make you aware of some upcoming resources. So we are going to be at Cvent Connect, our user conference, in just a few weeks, it feels like now, July 24th through 27th in Las Vegas. If you are a Cvent customer or a Cvent prospect, we hope to see you there. This is your opportunity to talk with us, meet with your colleagues, and really be a part of one of the largest event technology conferences in the industry, to share, learn, hear best practices. So be sure to register and meet all of us in person in Las Vegas. Also, again, before you leave, want to make sure you know about some of our upcoming webinars. And so if you like our content but cannot make it in person, or just want to hear more from us between now and then, we have a slew of webinars slated for this month, including on World Accessibility Day, a session on May 18th on accessibility and event technology, as well as you can see on the 23rd, Work Smarter, Not Harder, elevating your event experience. And don't just spend money, make money with sponsorship best practices. So lots of opportunities for you to join us. If you cannot stick around for Q&A, then please make sure to take that survey before you leave and give us your feedback. Otherwise, now we will go to our live Q&A. Hello, everybody. So as you can see, I think I jinxed us when we recorded that session last week, because here are Denise and I'm clearly wearing not my purple shirt, and we don't have Allison with us. Unfortunately, she is sick this morning and was unable to join us for the webinar, but we wanted to be sure to bring you today's content. So here goes the backup planning that all event planners know and love. Pre-record your content, so when the speaker gets sick day of, you have a game plan ready to go. But Denise and I would love still to take your questions live. I see a note in the chat asking if today's presentation was recorded. So yes, you'd be able to re-access within Attendee Hub both the full recording of the session with also this Q&A, so that you can refer back. And I think Carly has also mentioned that the presentation is available as well here in Attendee Hub if you scroll down below that video line. So we're going to take it to questions. I have seen some come in, but again, please use that little Q&A button. That's where you can go to submit questions. We'll be making sure we approve any that come in while we go to Q&A. So first, want to start with a question that I know I saw come in via the chat. So thank you for dropping that into Q&A. Could you give a sense of how the event impact calculator works, Denise?
Yep, I can definitely address that. So I did not speak to this very much in the beginning of our presentation today, but my background is also from meeting planning through director of operations. So very familiar with this, and I'm familiar with the pain of an operations team and the demands that are consistently coming at them. And Allie's now in a similar role to what I was a number of years back. So what we're hearing from our customers, and obviously living ourselves, right? How do we use this impact calculator? So we talked a bit about identifying those objectives and identifying the KPIs. And if you plug those things into a calculator and determine, if you will, the metrics, like what is the weight of that to your organization? What's the most important thing? Maybe give it a 5 versus the least important thing, give it a 1. Where are those things within an event? And then you can start to say the total value of this event, the objectives that we should be returning upon within this event are a 25. 5 out of 5 of our objectives are each ranked and weighted a 5. However, you've got those smaller ones that might not in a different event. So this helps your team identify where you should be putting your energy and your effort and possibly your funding. So that's what I would say is kind of what that starts to look like. And I don't know if you want to put something in chat, if that answered your question, or if you have a follow-up one, happy to have that conversation a little bit further.
Awesome. Thank you, Denise, for that insight. All right. Next question that has come in, and let's hit answer now. How do we start to categorize if we don't collect any data outside of the basic event information? And I know this was a lot of Allie's work that she did, but Denise, I know you've been helping our customers with this too.
Yep. So same thing here. And I would say if you don't already have categorization in place and you're not yet collecting that data, you've got to get the footing, right? So I would say start interviewing your stakeholders. That's going to serve twofold. One, really understanding what it is their needs are, but it's also going to start to evangelize your program, gain their interest, and hopefully down the line, also their buy-in, right? So you want to start building that peer group, but really understanding what it is your organization is planning or delivering.
That is a great suggestion. Hopefully a good tip to get people moving in the right direction. Next question that we have kind of in this same thread. So now that we've gotten our categorization going, how do we consolidate our event types? We have too many groups managing all types of events and no buy-in to standardize. So how can we start to move that conversation down the road?
All right. So guys, remember when we put that screen up and we said, are they internal or external? Are they hosted or are we attending them, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. And if you put that quadrant on a screen, on a whiteboard in a meeting room, whatever that looks like to your organization, start to bucket those events. Start to identify the objectives of those events. And I think you can start to streamline and consolidate and find like events. We talked about, specifically I did, right? We have conference. That's one of our event types. But I said to all of you, you might not know it as a conference. You might know it as something completely different in its nomenclature. So you could get 5 different stakeholders in a room. They all call it something different. But when they start talking about what that event looks like to them, you can come to common ground and nomenclature and say, this is what our organization wants to call it moving forward. These are the associated objectives.
Oh, I love that. And focusing on the objectives as opposed to the type. I know happens so many times that somebody gets wedded to a name that they just want to keep holding on to. But if you focus on the objectives, then that's a really good way to help to standardize the conversation at least.
Yeah.
All right. Please do keep adding your questions. We'll stick around. I know we had said this would be an hour session. So if you have them, do have at least one more question. So please do keep putting them in. But next question, Denise, what fields do you see clients standardizing first and how can we build upon that?
Yep. So I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I just said previously. And I'm going to say, again, standardize those objectives. Those are your organizational objectives. That's what your entire organization is trying to achieve, whether it be this year, whether it be your 3-year plan. What are your objectives? How do those specific events feed into and support, therefore provide the return on investment? Beyond that, there's some other big data stuff. Take a look at collecting cost upfront or that budget. What are your attendee types? Are you focused on customers? Are you focused on employees, specific customers? Drill down the information from your big data points. Think about the format in which you're going to deliver your content. Is this going to be an in-person event? Is it virtual? Is it a hybrid? As you all know, we have Connect coming up soon. We now have a hybrid event for that, where historically it was all in person. And then start with your basic event types. Use those, come to agreement. I mentioned it in our recording. I'll say it again. Socialize it. Make sure it becomes common conversation within your organization. If you're using a meeting request form for people to submit, give a pop-up window that provides those definitions, whether it be outlining objectives and/or a definition. What does this look like? Where does my event fit best?
Awesome. Thank you, Denise. So we had also opened up the poll for everybody to take. If you haven't had a chance to navigate over to that poll tab, I dropped into chat that it was open. Please do. Our poll was, does your organization currently have a formal event taxonomy? And so see if anybody else is going to take a minute to respond. But the results that we saw were only 12% said yes, 41% no. I love that. 18% I have no idea. And another 29% of you are currently working on it. So for that, what are we at? Over 50, almost 60% of you who are in that no or I have no idea bucket. Really hope that this conversation has helped you to think differently and really about the value of having a more formalized event taxonomy and what that can bring to your organization, and really just standardizing the way you speak, but more importantly, helping you to really showcase your event metrics, improve the value of each of your events when you're talking in more similar terms across all the different events. That, you know, every event is a special snowflake. We know from our stakeholders that everybody has their special snowflake events, but we really want to be able to standardize that conversation across the organization. You with us still, Denise? Oh, looks like we might be having trouble with Denise. Hopefully she gets back on here before we wrap. We don't have any more questions in the Q&A, but I will hang around here for another minute or two to see if both we get Denise back or if anybody else has any questions. Otherwise, if you do want to go ahead and drop or you have to go, please don't forget to take that survey. It's the last button down on the right-hand side of your screen. We'd love to hear your feedback. And if you haven't scrolled down at all yet under the video console within Attendee Hub, please do, and check out the slide deck that is available, as well as some of the links that we've dropped in the chat for registering for Seaman Connect, as well as some of our upcoming webinars. Those webinars currently open for registration are May 18th, as well as May 23rd. So please do join us for one of those upcoming sessions. Make sure to take the survey, and looks like there's still no questions, but maybe we'll get Denise back here just in time to help us wrap up and say goodbye. And thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Denise, for handling the bulk of Q&A in Allison's absence. And we really hope we provided you with some good information to think a little bit differently about your event programs.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.